Greetings, my friends. This is Stan for What It Takes and for the Creator Entrepreneur Institute and our podcast, which is simply called Ideas, Influence, Impact, and Income. Just four simple words, but it reflects a very, very difficult and perhaps very different view of life and service in the world today. I'd like to give you a brief update about something that might be helpful to you. First of all, I was going to introduce our first class course place where you can learn something very significant about how to be a creator entrepreneur by a new, and it will be a controversial, but I believe very helpful mini class course conference coaching experience called How Jesus Sells. And right off the bat, the title itself will put you a little bit on the edge, and that's on purpose. And in fact, we will begin next week a new series simply called On the Edge. 3 to 5 minutes of a video presentation, which will be designed with a specific purpose because right now, our entire world, civilization, country, community, economy, and obviously your life and business is on the edge. How do we live when everything, almost everything, is on the edge? Hopefully, we'll learn and discover some things together about that. So How Jesus Sells doesn't start today. It will start next week. And I think you will find it, hopefully, helpful and useful. But what I want to talk about today is to handle a little bit of what's going around. Now, right now, those of you who are not in the United States are not fully aware of it, but everybody in the world who is listening to the world news knows something about it. And that is that now it is official that President Trump will be leaving office just about 2 weeks from, about 12 days from today, and Joe Biden will become the new president. Men of very contrasting views, politics, policies, and view. And of course, it has been a very controversial election in which President Trump has said with what he believes is true conviction and with a multitude of evidence that the election was not fair, that it was either rigged, that it was fraudulent, or that it was stolen. And of course, what you feel about that is what this topic is all going to be about. But then it was heightened yesterday when a rally was held by Mr. Trump and his family, and hundreds of thousands of people came because they wanted to voice their objection to what they said the stolen election. And this was also done at the very same time that all of the various votes from all of the states were tabulated into what are called electoral votes. And then it is officially put before the United States Senate. And there, the Vice President of the United States, whoever that is, and it just happens to be Mr. Mike Pence, who is the Vice President to Donald Trump, then has to announce who is officially elected as President of the United States. Well, while that was beginning to happen, what was the protest or the speech that was going to encourage a protest, a riot, I think that would be a term, certainly a violent and very dangerous riot took place as these people, not all of them, in fact, very few of them, it was actually not a very big group at all, but it was big enough, stormed the United States Capitol, broke through the security barriers, and caused a good deal of damage. And in doing so, it turns out that one lady was shot by one of the police officers and died. Another officer was wounded and later died. And there were, because of the confusion and the chaos and the crowds, there was a good deal of just bad things happening, and 3 medical emergencies, and people died. So 5 people have died as a result of what happened. And of course, there's a mountain load, just an incredible amount of energy and news going into this. And that led me to what I called the classic question that might be helpful to you. And it's the title of this program. What opinion do you want me to have? All right. Now, it actually is in 2 ways, and it happened to me yesterday. First of all, I had been encouraging one of my friends for many years to really get involved in a project that I think could be very helpful to him in the work he's done and the legacy he hopes to leave. He's a man of incredible wisdom and spiritual strength and direction. And finally, he at least took part of my advice and started to do some writing about the things that we had talked about and the things that I had recommended that he speak to, because I appreciate his wisdom. Well, he sent me a copy, and of course, that was the question he asked. What's your opinion? What's your opinion? Well, then, of course, another question is, oh, did you hear about the rioting in Washington? What's your opinion? You probably have the same situation in your family, your collegiality, whatever community. And my answer is, with a smile, what opinion do you want me to have? Now think about that. What opinion do you want me to have? And then with a smile, I oftentimes add, because I'm rather sure that it will not be the one you want to hear. Now, there's 2 things I'm trying to accomplish. First of all, I really would like to know what opinion they want me to have, because the fact is, they probably want me to have the opinion that agrees with them. And we'll see how close we can come to an agreement on that. Or perhaps they want me to have an opinion that is totally in agreement with them so they can find an ally. So what opinion do you want me to have? And doing that, they themselves have to reveal a little bit of what their opinion of the subject is. And I'll begin to find out what they really want from me and whether I can help them or not. By the way, I might not be able to do that. A number of years ago, someone approached me to help them with their business, and they asked me to be their coach. And they had heard me speak, and I'd been recommended. And so I went and visited with them and had a conversation. I gave them a great deal of help, and they said they'd get back to me. Well, it got back to me, and he asked for another conversation. And so I went out there, I hadn't made a dime on this thing yet, and he asked for something else, and I did what I could. And he argued with it a bit and responded to it. I tried to make sure that I was helpful and useful. And finally, he called me again, and we had another little conversation, and then he kind of pushed back and said, you know what? I'm sorry, but I don't think you can help me. And I simply said quietly, with a little bit of edge, kindly, I don't think that. I know I can't help you. And of course, you can take the little bit of the double-edged meaning in that, and it's fully intended. I take responsibility, and you have to take responsibility. All the best and blessings to you as you go on your way. Now, what opinion do you want me to have? Now, one of the things that will be very helpful to having some of the conversation and for you to have a sense of confidence is to realize that if you do have an opinion, and you may not. Maybe you don't think it's worthwhile. Someone said, we need to talk about this subject. And I very kindly said, I don't want to. At my age and stage, I don't want to spend a minute more talking about that. I really don't. I don't care that much. I don't want to talk about that. And that's very kind. That's just not of interest to me. I don't want to enter in a conversation, or certainly it was leading to a conflict. I just don't want to do that. But also at the same time, it allows me to let them know that I'm probably going to be, as I oftentimes am, a little bit of a maverick, a bit of a rogue, and that my opinions usually have an edge to them that is not usually apparent. And that I will probably have maybe something close to what they want, but I'm going to perhaps add something to it which they may or may not want to hear, or certainly may not be fully in agreement with them. And my interpretation will probably be somewhat different because I take a very much longer view and a much bigger view, and sometimes a much more faith-filled view, and sometimes a much more skeptical view than the subject before me. Now let's make it very simple for you now. In terms of what happened, in terms of President Trump, the new president, Joe Biden, the simple answer to what's going to happen or what is your opinion is very simple. We don't know now. I'm going to have on my program what one of my mentors taught me, because he used it in his talk show program. When a caller or a guest would make some rather bold claim that was somewhat controversial, or maybe just not fully assurable, he had an automatic big voice come on. It pushed the button and the voice would say, "We don't know that." Didn't say it wasn't true. It's just that we don't know that. What happened at the event in Washington, D.C., well, we know some things, but there's a lot of things we don't know. And we're going to discover things more and more and more and more and more. And as a result, we'll have less and less certainty about what we thought we know, and we'll have maybe a little more certainty about some of the things that actually happened. But we don't know yet. And our opinion will probably be very divergent from people who make their opinion right now. I oftentimes say I have no comment at least for 72 hours after the event. And there's a good chance I won't have one then. Because, as one of my mentors said, who cares what you think, Stan? Why should I? Good question. Who cares what you think? And why should I care? What we learn, I believe, at this stage in life is if we are going to grow up, we have a certain amount of more humility. I sometimes say to people, because of my intensity and my toughness and some of my certainty about certain things, I'd say, if you think I'm a jerk now, you should have seen me 25 years ago. I've mellowed out. Yeah, and probably 50 years ago, when I really knew it all. I'm not so certain about many of the things I was certain of. In fact, I recently said in a conversation, and I made it in one of my presentations, is the only thing you can be certain of is you can't. Yeah. Life is a leap of faith. There is far, 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 far more that you don't know than you do know. And that is true for all of us. The things that we do know must be grounded not only in tradition and our own experiences, but they also must be grounded in the very person and being of God, Father, Son, Jesus Christ, and Holy Spirit. And take it there first and see what you come up with. As I tell people, I am a believer and a follower of the principles and practices of Jesus, particularly in how it will lead us to do life and business. And that's what the Creator Entrepreneur Institute is all about. And next week, I will be inviting very specific people, probably maybe one of you, to join me to be one of the teachers, creators, and persons of wisdom, insight, and truth. People with a wit, wisdom, insight, and truth, and with a smile, a wit, and a sense of deep humility. As one of my other mentors said, he's come to the point where he prays that every day he'll have one humiliation, because otherwise he may not stay humble very long. And the reason he won't stay humble very long is he has a lot of hundreds and thousands of admirers who think he's perfect, and he's not. I need one humiliation every day. And perhaps we all do in some way. We also need to say, thank you, Jesus, 100 times a day. That keeps him on your mind, heart, and spirit. And so I would simply close this Friday little homily and this radio conversation and this radio on the movie by asking you to think profoundly about what next week. We're going to be into the second week of 2021. It's a very uncertain time. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't even have much of a clue. And those who think they do, you know what we should think about that. But where are we to go in our life, in our business? We believe that you're going to have to learn how to use the broadcast systems for your business and your state of mind and your state of influence. And we also believe that you're going to have to find a way to not just be a good worker and a good parent and a good friend. You're probably going to have to find a way to be somewhat of a creator entrepreneur. And we're going to hopefully help you to do just that. So all the best to you. I hope that 2021 will be better. That's my one word, better. And we will be able to not only press on, that we will not only survive, but there might be even something in it that will make us flourish and thrive, even in the midst. And what I oftentimes love about looking out my window is it is a desert. We are right in the middle of the desert. Life is difficult and dangerous in the desert. But there are many of God's plants and creation who, through the very process of God's grace and human and emotional and spiritual and physical development, have learned to thrive even in the desert and in the desert times. Best and blessings to you. We'll be in touch. Have a good weekend. Bye for now.